Welcome to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm your host, Tricia Carr. Thank you so much for being with me today. I am so happy to be in your company because your company is actually contributing to this live broadcast as well as to the archives of the show. So I really do appreciate you being here. And we are broadcasting live from the Universal Broadcasting Network studios in Hollywood, California. And so if this is your first time joining, well, thank you so much for being here. And so that you know, Charmed Life is an internet TV talk show, and we broadcast live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And you can watch live on Periscope or my Twitter handles, which are at Charmed Life 1111 or Tricia Carr Charm. You can also watch on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Tricia Carr Charm. And you can find us on ubnradio.com on channel 1. You can catch the archives of this show on YouTube. You just need to look for me, Tricia Carr, or actually you probably want to look up Charmed Life with Tricia Carr because just my name is actually going to bring up my cat's channel, which does have some of my Charmed episodes on there, but my cat is really famous, and so he's way more famous than I am, even though I'm the one who has the opposable thumbs. You can also listen to the podcast version of Charmed Life on Spreaker and iTunes. Please do subscribe and, of course, share and like and comment and all the things that are available. If you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channels, you're also going to see other content that I put up there. Sometimes teaching. Sometimes when I do a reading session in a Facebook group, I'll put those up there. And then just other videos and special kinds of content. I'm actually about to put up a series of videos and podcasts talking about animals and animal spirit guides, our power animals, and all of that kind of mystical stuff about how animals, whether they are literal animals here on Earth with us, our animal family members, or spirit animals on the other side, and how they work with us. It's all very, very fascinating. And pardon me while I take a sip of water. And we have the wonderfully talented and wise Jarvis Essex producing the show. Hello, Jarvis. And now I'm pleased to welcome my very special guest. He is an expert in the awakening process, and he's a teacher and coach, and he helps people to navigate their spiritual awakening process, and his name is Victor Oddo. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's so nice to have you in studio with me. It's really great. Well, Victor is very prolific on YouTube, so you should definitely find his YouTube channel and subscribe. His teachings are really grounded, I find, and I appreciate that. I'm definitely very connected to divine energy as well as Gaia. Of course, that's like a big part of my personal mission is to kind of see how those two guides are here to help us ascend. And along those lines, actually, Victor, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey or the work that you're doing?
Okay, well, I started out as a personal trainer. I had, like a lot of people in this field, most of my life I had like an innate urge to help people. Mm-hmm. And being a fitness trainer seemed to be the most reasonable and practical outlet for that. Yeah. But, and after time went on, it became sort of unfulfilling as I realized that I could only reach people at a certain depth. Yeah. And I, in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to kind of be on YouTube, but had anxieties and fears about doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah. But eventually I just, I had a gym at one point, and that the business was not working out. And I just sort of got myself into a situation where I had like a clean slate. So I just started pumping out YouTube videos, and I had a whole bunch of different channels. I was unaware of exactly which direction to go in, fitness, self-help. So I had like 5 different YouTube channels. Oh. And I had this personal channel, just Victor Oddo, where I would just talk about whatever I wanted to. And that tended to be, strangely enough, the one that got all the action. Oh. And I would oftentimes talk about like awakening and my spiritual awakening, that kind of thing. And then it just sort of took off from there. As I realized that just me simply sharing my own experience was helping people quite profoundly. And it just sort of snowballed like a lot of things in life from that point forward. And here I am.
Isn't that interesting? You had like these different channels thinking you had to I don't know, maybe brand yourself or like take a piece of you off, but it was actually the most authentic you that was what attracted people.
Exactly, right.
Isn't that quite a message?
It is, yeah. Yeah, I was trying to like find my niche, but apparently my niche is just Victor.
Is you.
Myself, yeah.
Yeah, just your name, just you and your real experiences. Wow, that's fascinating. You do have quite a lot of videos. And how often do you, it seems like that you have a few a week, which is...
I do daily videos, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Like 7 days a week or 5?
7.
That's amazing. I hadn't quite realized that they came, because I'm always just, well, you get on one and then you're on autoplay. And it does, yeah, I guess every time I go to your channel specifically, I see it's like today or the day before,
right.
or maybe just how they're actually, that's fascinating. So, and they must be then pretty like on schedule. I mean, that's what I mean by that is, let's say you make a video on Tuesday, you get it out by Wednesday or something like that. It's close to the right time that you're feeling it, the energy.
Yeah, you know what I do currently is usually Monday through Friday, I'll shoot 3 videos per day.
Yeah.
And then I'll have enough in my stockpile to pump them out every day. I don't always use them, but I think it's important. That's like my thing, to practice my craft daily or almost daily. So.
Oh, that's so great. And we're talking about the technical stuff, but I think it's fascinating, honestly. Well, so what was there a time? What was the catalyst that actually did it? I mean, you love being on YouTube, the idea of being on YouTube and actually expressing your truth and really working from, well, throat chakra, quite honestly. Was there, do you remember there being some kind of catalyst or something that actually said, I'm doing it? Was there a moment or a subject or anything like that you can
that sort of initiated me to get on YouTube, you mean?
Yeah, and start really sharing your experience, your personal experiences, especially with the spiritual awakening, the one that actually sort of took off. I mean, if you don't remember, then
no, there was. Yeah,
it's
like a longer. I'll shorten it. But I was at a point in my life where I had this gym business, and I also had a medical marijuana grow operation. I sort of built myself these 2 businesses, and I made myself kind of comfortable. And I just, like a lot of people, I think might be experiencing, I felt suddenly completely unfulfilled in both of them. Like I knew it was time to say goodbye to them. And it was very compelling, the signs I would get, the dreams I would have. We're all saying, you got to just stop doing this. It's done. You have a different purpose. And I sensed it had to do with YouTube, because when I was going through the struggles of my awakening, I found a lot of comfort from just people sharing on YouTube, whether it be about spirituality or not. And then as I sort of burned my bridges, I closed down my gym. I stopped the grow operation I had on kind of like a big leap of faith.
Wow.
And then I sort of painted myself into a corner where I had to do this. And it was scary, but it was a blessing, because it lit a fire under my butt. And that's sort of how it manifested. Again, I wanted to do it for a long time, but I was putting it off because I had these other engagements.
Yes.
And a safety net. The safety net had to crumble. So I sort of needed to do that.
But it's really, I mean, it's incredibly brave that you actually did it. Because I know a lot of people have awakening stories that start with, my life fell apart before so that it could fall back together. And you actually heard the subtle call. I mean, subtle because it wasn't like you got fired or something, which that happens to people,
yes.
So you really took that inner guidance really, really seriously.
I did. I wouldn't even call it a subtle call. It was like,
no, right.
it was getting really
you could
shown to me how I just needed to let them go. Put it that I was having like spirit guides come to me in my dreams saying, "You're done. You gotta cut it off."
Wow.
But it was very scary. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, I love that leap of faith, and it worked out. I mean, you didn't have to go live on the street or anything.
Right. It all worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, they were real and they meant it. And speaking of signs, and you start and end your videos with 1111, and I think that is a really fascinating, because that happened to me. 1111, it still does, and I actually get people writing me on social media or just friends even saying, this is so weird, but I keep saying 1111, and they haven't kind of cracked into this realm of even watching your videos or people on YouTube. So can you speak to that 1111 business?
I prefer not to. I realize how it sounds when you speak about the awakening and that stuff. So it's not my personal mission to convince people that that is a real thing. So I prefer to speak with the people who I know are going through it. So I sort of call out to them with the 1111.
yeah.
to sort of weed out the other people who again are just going to be kind of like the skeptics give me a hard time.
Right.
It's okay that they don't
That's
see
fine.
it the way I do, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's really brilliant. I didn't even think of it that way. I didn't realize that you were actually kind of calling out that way. That's really smart. And I always say, well, I don't always say, but I often say, I'm an evangelist, but I'm not a proselytizer. An evangelist being like, I want to sing about it. I want to spread the love and, spread the message, but I don't want to convince anyone. And I'm the same way. I'm not really interested in attracting skeptics because I value everyone's own perspective, and they should have it. And I want that as well. I think that what I do love is having a skeptic to have a conversation with them that's non-challenging and we're not trying to threaten one another, or I'm not interested in skeptics who want to say, well, you're wrong and you're doing, you know what I mean? Like I might as well talk with a hellfire and brimstone, judgmental religious person, right?
Right.
Because a person can be sort of addicted to science as if it's a religion. And actually, I love science, and I take a lot of inspiration from science. I love that we actually are finding a lot of verified, at least by the scientific method, about this whole awakening that we've been experiencing. Really fascinating. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, let's talk about that. So you talk about the personal awakening process that people are experiencing. And also we talk about that in sort of the context of it being a global awakening, or the Ascension, as we call it. So if you don't mind, I would love to discuss your perspective or your feelings about what this whole global ascension thing that people are talking about.
Sure. Okay.
Feeling about.
Yeah, this is the big one. But again, I want to preface this with, this is my own opinion and just what I sense happening. But as wild as it sounds, it definitely seems as if the planet itself is raising its vibration to the point where it's bound to eventually pop into a next octave of experience, another dimension, another plane of existence that's very similar but at a higher octave. And as the planet does this, I think people are going through this individual process as well to sort of ride with it. Mm-hmm. And some people say it's because the planet itself is moving into another area of the solar system, which has some new energy. And I don't pretend to know what is causing it or why. I can just sense it. I think a lot of people can sense it too. That there's something going on, and it has to do with the fundamental energy that underlies all matter. Mm-hmm.
And it's, for me, what some of I feel, I'm having the feelings of it as well. And when I started first feeling it, I actually questioned. I was like, wait, is that just because I'm personally, because this is really my globe first, is my personal experience. And so I questioned, I was like, wait, is really the planet going through something, or is it just because I'm going through something? And actually, when I was in evangelical Christianity, when they would, from the pulpit, kind of use this Armageddon thing as a fear tactic, the world's going to end and all this kind of stuff. I remember sitting there thinking, even when I was a kid, I was like, so what? My world's going to end. I'm going to die. Why do I care if the whole planet dies at the same time or not? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be cold, but you know what I mean? Like it kind of doesn't matter. So I've always had that question of, does it matter what I'm personally going through, or wondering if my personal experience is the same as the global experience and vice versa, and what those are indicating for one another. But we can see things like, what we call the new children, the young people that are coming in with what I believe are new abilities, and unfortunately we haven't understood it, so we've been medicating them, but thinking that they're ADHD or autistic. And I'm not saying that there aren't, that's clinically untrue for all of the children or whatever. I'm just saying that even if it were that, if they are all clinically ADHD and autistic, it rose by like 1,000% inside a ridiculously short window. So, and what I mean by that is, if you imagine we come into this plane, this dimension, as perfect, pure consciousness, but we put these filters on, so we don't remember that we're, psychic and intuitive, and we can see and we can see energy, and we can see things that are not just the physical third dimensional reality, because that's the only way we could commit to it. But these new children are remembering that, having less of that filter, and experiencing that kind of the additional reality that is all around us. And so to me, why are all of these children coming in this way? That to me is speaking to raising the vibration. Just their very presence here is raising the vibration if they come in with that higher consciousness, that higher awareness. Would you agree?
I totally agree. I see it in, I feel like you can see it in the eyes of the children.
Yeah.
They have a glow about them, a glow of authenticity and inner freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, just being in the presence of someone who's so comfortable with themselves is infectious, and in sometimes in a disorienting way, because it can make you realize how constricted you are. But that ultimately leads to growth and awareness of where you're constricting yourself. But I have that. I'm in alignment with that ideology of like, the children are coming in to help raise the vibration.
Yeah.
I see it in my own kids. They're very psychic. They're very intelligent. They're very more connected is the best way I would put it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 3 children.
Yes.
And so that must be because I'm not sure, but I assume because of our parents' generation, you probably weren't raised with an openness or understanding about like being psychic or mystical or anything like that. So it must be really interesting with these children coming in with their awareness that it is, and then the parents who are having them, like you, have more of that awareness as well from experience, from going through and living with the planet, going through this. Wow, what's going to happen?
Right.
The power.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the parents who are like waking up are realizing that it's not even about telling them new ideas. It's about letting them blossom without imposing conditioning on them, which is we can maybe only do that so successfully. But that's been my primary objective as a parent, is to again allow them to be who they came to be, untouched as possible.
I want to say, by the way, that we are taking calls if you'd like to call in and ask a question. And, for spiritual advice, if you wanted a reading from me, I'm happy to do that. But I really highly recommend calling in with a question that is geared toward being very, very sensitive or the awakening process, because we do have this brilliant expert of the awakening process. I hope you don't mind me calling you an expert. I know, because you're very humble and you're like, I don't know anything, because that's, the person who thinks that they know everything stops learning. But Victor is fantastic at giving really great advice and grounded perspective on all of the stuff that's kind of out there. I mean, compared to, again, living, going to work every day and stuff.
Sure. Yes. I've been going through it a long time, so I feel like I'm able to give advice from an experiential level, which seems to be helpful to people rather than something I'm just saying.
Right. Well, exactly. And that's how people started to really appreciate the work that you're doing. That's how your work got defined. Mm-hmm. And you talk about Ascension symptoms.
Yes.
And I saw a video, one of your videos, where you're talking about like, we're calling, and you say this a lot, we're calling it this, but again, get off the labels. However, labels and putting things into categories and stuff like that, that's how our human brain, our logic likes to function.
Exactly. You can't abandon all label. There's no conversation then.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I like to talk about, the duality of the left and the right brain. And the right brain is really, it's your intuitive side and your creative side. And it's best to let that one lead, but you have to let your left brain, which is logical, linear, analytical, translate that information into this dimension, really.
Definitely, yes.
And that's what I think labels and categories do. But you don't want to get hung up on labels and categories.
Right.
I see all of that stuff as tools, just like language is a symbol. It's not the actual thing.
Exactly, yeah.
So talk about, if you don't mind, what are some of those common ascension symptoms, or maybe what does it feel like the people that you're talking to and that are getting your help, what is it feeling like for people that are starting this awakening process? What are these symptoms and all of that kind of stuff?
Okay, there's many of them. I'll go over a few of them. One of them is their life seems to be going through a lot of turmoil, to the point where it gets them wondering, like, what's going on? And that in and of itself could just be seen as, wow, sometimes life is up and down, but usually that's accompanied with emotional angst and really heavy, like really challenging emotions that just sort of bombard them. People start waking up extremely depressed for no reason. And that is combined with like really wild and fluctuating physical symptoms like fatigue and just a real heightened sensitivity to everything. And like their perception starts changing. They start kind of seeing more of the moment, feeling people's energy. As weird as that sounds, that does happen. You can feel how someone else is feeling in your own body. And then also there's like, for a lot of people, they start seeing numbers all the time, 11, 11, 12, 12 at an alarming rate, to the point where you're like, why am I seeing this? What's happening to me? And then all this kind of happens at once to get people saying, what is happening?
Right.
And then they go and they look, and they look online, and if they're fortunate, and most people at the right time do, they come to find out other people are having the same experience, these same life changes, and it's an ongoing, there's a commonality there, and it just has to do with it's just germane to a spiritual transformation.
I actually had a friend not too long ago text me saying, my husband keeps seeing 1111. What is that? Like, I was the first person she thought to ask, because she thought it was probably something, spiritual or metaphysical or something. And I just laughed and I said, just Google it. You don't even need me to tell you.
Quick enough.
Your mind will be blown by you Googling it.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's actually what I think about, like all the different synchronicities and signs, and it can be basically a way of life. And I think it's just fun, It's
fun. It's like the synchronicities tend to increase in their frequency, and you start to associate them with certain personal meanings and messages, and then they can be quite helpful for. It's almost like you said, the right brain is intuitive. It's like giving a physicalized reflection of your own intuition.
Right.
It's starting to manifest before you. Like, you'll have an idea. Oh, maybe I should do this, and then you'll see 1111. You'll get confirmation to kind of let you know you're on the right path. And
you know what it is too. This is what's interesting, and actually, I don't know if you've said this, but I heard when I was asking, because I'm doing that sacral thing where I got all these conversations I'm trying to get out, but it kind of never ends, because we're always raising our vibration. When we're we kind of catalyze and we get that big opening or awakening or whatever you call it, and then you're on. You don't go back to sleep. And then when you're going through these different kind of phases of exponential growth, then it'll start to happen again. Maybe, I think it always calms down to something that's more tolerable, also because you catch on. And the thing is, your body and the environment around you, your holograph, is trying to really show you something, and you get better at reading that, so you don't need as strong as a sign, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
This past year, I got my left foot run over by a car, and
Wow.
Hi, hello. Hello, universe. And then a few months, that was in June. And then December 26th, I fell on a trail and tore my MCL on my left knee. Right? And of course, the physicals, as a physical trainer, yes, I also had probably not totally done enough therapeutic work on that left leg, because I had atrophy from the left foot going. But you know what I mean? But on the spiritual side of it too, I hadn't done enough therapy to figure out that, not figure out the message, but sort of start to follow through with it all the way, like what that is bringing me. So I'm still seeing that. And then just the other day, I was getting a lot of 5s, 555, everywhere I looked. And so much so that I called to pay a bill, and they're like, "What's your account number?" And I was like, LQ 55555. And she goes, "How many 5s is that?" And I was like, 5.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. Okay, I hear you. Please, I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed. Can you stop with the numbers? So do you actually, besides 1111, are you interested in numerology? Is that something that kind of shows up in your modalities?
I see a lot of different number combinations. I don't have I haven't studied numerology to where I would be comfortable talking about that. But I don't only see 1111. I see synchronicity can extend even beyond numbers. It can just be like, a lot of times you'll be thinking about something, and then a song comes on the radio, and the lyrics happen to be like brilliant advice being spoken directly to you.
Yeah.
And you also, there's like a physical experience I have where it's like a, oh wow, like like a yes, aha, like a ha-ha feeling in the body. So it's all kind of all these things happening at once. And they can be 1111 or numbers.
Sure, yeah, anything. I mean, it could be, again, just thinking, oh, I know what I was going to say also, that as we continue along our path or whatever, we continue to raise our vibration, our frequency is speeding up. And that amounts to us being able to manifest faster. So that's why something like physical symptoms will keep happening, or they happen immediately. And when I say physical symptoms, I don't just mean like me hurting my knee or seeing 1111, like you're saying, the quickening of the feeling, like almost a thought or a feeling is so profound that it actually becomes a thought form, something that is almost matter for you.
Yeah.
Is that what that kind of feels like, you think?
I see it the same way. I see it just as you were saying earlier. Like, it's not that you wake up and you have this awakening experience and then you're done. It's just you become like initiated into this, like you said, this nonstop expansive growth. But at the same time, you get better at it, you get wiser, and you can read the signs sooner. So like you said, even though you're still going through it, it's not. It kind of calms down in a sense, not the speed, but because you become more skilled at handling it. Yeah. You can just like, instead of having your foot run over, you just see the 5-5 and then you act accordingly.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. What are some other things I wanted to talk to you about? So do we have calls, Jarvis? Oh, we do. I didn't realize that. Sorry. Jarvis probably trying to tell me. You mind if we take a call or two?
Sure, of course.
All righty. Hello, you're on the air. Who's this? Hello, you're on the air. Who is this? All right. Can you hear me? No, I don't hear them. So maybe, is there another one? All right, we'll go to the next caller. Oh, hello, you are on the air.
Hello.
Who is this?
Hi, this is Evangeline.
Evangeline? What a beautiful name.
Why, thank you. I go by Evil.
I like the way you flipped that.
Got to be more fun. Yeah, got to have as much good as you do evil in your life. But hello, Victor. I very much enjoy your channel and your YouTube. I've been learning quite a bit. I have a question of something we were talking about the other day on Facebook.
Sure.
You hear of all these people having such a horrible experience of the dark of night and the ascension sickness and blah, blah, blah. Well, we got a group of us that finally just started talking the other day. It's like, we're not having any problems. It's very little in comparison to the horror stories that everyone else is talking about. And I was wondering, I would figure it being that we're further along. I've been going through this for many, many years. And it's been okay. I'm okay with it. I don't fight it. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's like you said, hearing some people, we tend to kind of pay more mind to a negative experience. So though there are people, reporting having challenging situations, which is common, it doesn't mean it has to be challenging. Everyone's going to experience it as different. It's just a very fundamental inner shift, and it can play out in many different ways depending on the person and their own life path. So I would say that there's no ever need to judge your own situation based on what other people are saying. And if you're having a great time, then that's something to be very happy about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. And I mean, it has just sped up. I mean, just wow, blowing my mind. And, being able to do things that, I've been told since I was a kid that, you have the ability to do these things from a relative, who is a little special too, and never really believed it. And oh boy, lately I have to really mind my P's and Q's because what comes out of my mouth sometimes happens a little too fast. And it's scary sometimes, but it's fun. And I'm fortunate to have a very good support group in my family that doesn't look at me like I'm nuts.
Oh yeah.
Well, they do, but
and that's another.
That might be the blue hair though.
That's
but it.
Go ahead, sweetie. Sorry. Evangeline.
Oh, it just, it makes it that much easier instead of having to worry about what you're saying and what you're doing when you know that your family isn't going to look at you like you're nuts. Right. They are interested in hearing about it and they believe you.
That's beautiful. And there are a lot of people who, when they come out, when they've had their awakening, and then they keep it to themselves, and it's challenging for them because people are scared, that they're changing and all that kind of stuff. But mine actually wasn't that hard either. I mean, my husband and I had to weather it together. We'd been together 10 years. And so that's, I mean, we were both like, what's happening? You know, but we actually we came to a place that was okay, because just one day I said, I'm just becoming more myself. And he was like, oh, well, I want that. Yeah. And I want as much. He's like, I know there's a lot more, so I want more of it. But yeah, exactly. That's a kind of an ascension symptom.
And that's
people
exactly
reacting.
it. Being okay with yourself, and that's one thing. Doing the astrology. It was like, I'm exactly what my chart says. And at first, I was like, well, that really sucks. I'm not really special. Then I realized, wait a minute, that means I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. And when you're okay with that, and you read your chart and your natal chart and all that, and it's like, oh, I'm not crazy. I have opposing sun and moon. No wonder I go back and forth between black and white, yes and no, right and wrong, constantly. I was born under a full moon.
Wow, brilliant.
And it makes these things okay. You see that it's not you, but it's you.
Yes, yeah.
So it's being yourself, and I'm so much happier than everybody else I'm around. Anybody, it's just like, yeah, life's good. Life sucks, but it's good.
And when I got my foot run over, by the way, of course it sucked and it hurt and all that kind of stuff. But I was actually in the hospital screaming with pain, because it hurts when a car runs over your foot, turns out. But I was saying to my husband, who guesses? I know, right? But I was actually saying to my husband while I was sobbing, this is so cool. I know what it means. And he was like, honey, sometimes things just happen, because he thought I was upset about it. And I was like, no, it hurts. That's why I'm crying. I'm actually excited. There's this really powerful message that just came
for
through.
You. Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for calling, Evangeline.
And if you look at, looking at your foot being run over, it's like, okay, here's an opportunity. You're going to be incapacitated. And what are you supposed to be doing at that time? That's what I'm enjoying, is looking at things that are completely different. Okay, this happened. Why? What am I supposed to do with this? And you never know.
That I completely agree. And and that all coalesced for me.
I think that's why she's having a more gentle experience, because that's like the exact mindset I try to instill in my viewers, is that you can benefit from having your foot run over. You can there's a message, and usually the bigger thing, there's a bigger life forward movement you can make from that.
Yes.
And it sounds like you have that mindset, girl, and kudos. That's a mindset that could benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it.
The
it's
one
really
mindset
helpful.
that I don't have, that I don't like, is like being, enlightened and supposed to be bringing people into this. I don't like people. It's like, great, so you're sticking here to do this? I hate people. People suck. But I'm supposed to help them? Damn it.
Oh, that's funny. You're very, very
That's just
sensitive.
a cruel joke.
Yeah, that reminds me of Seinfeld.
Thank you, Victor, for doing what you do, and thank you for having Victor on and getting him out there more.
Oh, thank you so much,
It was nice to
Evangeline.
talk to you.
Well,
we'll talk soon. Thank you.
We have more calls. Sorry, didn't mean to cut her off. Thank you, Evangeline. I loved her energy. So it really, really, like you say, I think it was nice that she called in, because she's infectious with that positive attitude, and that'll really be helpful.
The detachment from good experience, bad experience. She just sees learning and all of that, and it can make negative things. It takes the edge off, big time.
Yeah, because from an expanded, higher perspective, there is no right and wrong anyway.
No, we're all just a part of God, learning and hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of calls, so maybe we should take a few more.
Sure.
Is that cool? All right.
Yeah.
Hello, you're on the air. Who's this?
This is Darius. How are you doing today?
Oh, hi, Darius. You called us last week. How are you doing?
And I'm going to call next week. Yes, I call every week. That's what I do.
But we have a ton of calls. Darius, we have a ton of calls, so it's quite magical that you got through. So thank you, though. What's
awesome,
going on?
Right? Seriously.
What's going on with you?
Yes. So since we're discussing awakening and so forth, I am big on the awakening process, but lately, like very lately, as in the past few days, I've been surrounded by despair, and I'm trying to figure out why that is occurring. I meditate frequently. I feel like I'm a very positive individual, but I just don't want to do anything. I just feel hopeless.
Okay. Well, like Victor just said, all experience is valid and is there to learn. And Darius, I know you're extremely intuitive. What I am getting to suggest to you is you can actually look at that those feelings or that mood maybe is a good way to just look at it, to call it. And actually, if you can, with your imagination, draw a line around it, because everything is energy, and where there is energy, there is information. So if you can sort of in your mind draw a line around that energy, the energy of that mood, and then you'll sort of disidentify from it a little bit by giving it space, but then treat it like it is a messenger, a benevolent messenger that is there to tell you something. And you can go into a light meditative state, bring this mood out in front of you and ask it questions and expect it to be giving you answers that are very positive and high vibrational and helping you to calibrate back to your home frequency. Does that make sense? That kind of technique?
It makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah. And then that way like I say, because it doesn't feel great and you don't want to feel it, is obviously what we resist persists. But if you can, that's a way of actually integrating it and welcoming it. So you'll be able to lose the resistance, and you'll also be disidentifying from it, because your home frequency is, of course, very high, vibrant, and positive. But you don't need to just try to be positive, and you don't need to feel guilty about it either when you aren't feeling positive, or if you have sort of a depressed mood or something like that. What do you think, Victor? Any
what I would just add to that is just sometimes everything does happen for a reason, and it sounds like you're doing the right thing by saying, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I in this situation? But sometimes it just takes a little time for the picture to unfold, mm-hmm. and it just takes about being kind of patient and trusting that there is a reason for it, and it will likely catalyze some sort of a decision you're going to make from this experience, and that'll benefit you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can actually be excited about it. If it's something that's kind of an aberration, okay. Yeah, it's something that's an aberration. It means that something new is going to come as a result of it, right?
Yeah, so it's rather than, and it doesn't sound like he has this mindset, but rather than mm-hmm. being like, oh, this is unfair, I don't like this happening, that tends to just breed more of that situation. Mm-hmm. But just step back and say, why is this happening? And have that trust that it is going to somehow benefit you, and just be patient and wait for life to show you how. And you could try her technique. That sounds like a neat trick as well. But again, sometimes it's not just instant. And mm-hmm. But in time, you'll go on. You'll say, oh, I see why I had those feelings, why I felt that certain way, etc.
I'm actually remembering something I heard Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, and he was talking about.
Love him.
Right,
yes.
I know, and his channel came down, and I'm itching for some Bashar fix.
Yeah,
lately.
It sucks.
But he told this story. So maybe since you follow him, you may have heard the story. He tells a story about how Daryl actually has this friend who really loves music, and his job requires him to drive around town a lot. So he wanted to buy like the most cherry system, for, audio system for his car. He couldn't afford his absolute favorite one. So what he could afford was the next one down. And he was like, and so he bought that one, and that was great, and he was happy with it. And this person is, by the way, very very positive, very, very, enlightened kind of person, basically. And so right after he got this new stereo system, his second favorite one, someone broke into it and stole it and kind of messed up the dash, robbed him of his system. And so instead of deciding, oh, this sucks, I hate it, what happened, I'm mad, what did I do wrong, any of the kind of things that we could do, whether we are, kind of introspective or not, he just decided in his mind, well, there's something good that this is bringing about. This is actually a good thing. And I am deciding to feel that way about it simply because I prefer to feel that way. I prefer to feel that that this is a good thing that's happening. And so he actually then, he got the insurance money, and then he took it to a shop to get it fixed. And so they gave him the money to replace the system and also get the dash fixed, like the car fixed. And the person that he chose to fix the car said, you know what, this is so simple. I know it looks like a mess, but I'm going to fix it real quick and not charge you. And so basically, with the insurance money to pay the mechanic who didn't charge him, he was actually able to get that number one system that he preferred. And all because of his
Awesome.
mindset. Yeah, really powerful. And so I loved the moral of the story to me is, what prompted it was what Victor said, you can just choose that I don't feel good, and I'm going to feel good about the fact that I don't feel good because I prefer to feel that way. Is that a
Right.
little bit too mind-bending?
Well, no, it's like knowing that this not
I
feeling
get
good
it.
is going to benefit me in some way.
Yeah.
And we'll just have to be excited and enthusiastic and wait and see how that ends up being.
Yeah, and we don't have to put it on ourselves as a requirement. You could just find it's kind of like finding a way to be grateful. That's always a very a quickening kind of experience. Well, Darius, thank you so much for calling, and I'll talk to you next week, I guess, right?
Yes. See you next week.
Okay. Have a good day. Good. We still have some time. All right. Who's next? Hi there. You're on the air. Who's this?
This is Todd. How are you?
Hi, Todd. Great. Thank you for calling. What's going on?
I just heard you guys reference it's like all about the mentality of how even in the worst moments you kind of think of it as a positive kind of outlook.
Mm-hmm.
And I follow Victor's page, and matter of fact, when my awakening started about 2 years ago, he definitely saved me from going on a lot of psychotropics because he kind of explained to a doctor that you can move a migraine headache down into the center of your chest, the pressure of it, and then it shoots back up. It doesn't seem like it really correlates with them as much, but there was definitely a lot of stuff that he's helped me through on a lot of the things in general that he posts up. But I do have a question.
Great. What's your question?
I had been wondering more about moving towards California. That's actually something I get a lot of synchronicities on.
Well, Victor just did that. He had those feelings too. I've been in California for a long time, so the weather's nice. I'll tell you that. Do you?
How's the vibration?
Well, I've been here so long. Victor, do you want to?
I prefer it very much so. I absolutely love it. I'm glad I made the move. I wouldn't say it's higher, better, or anything like that. It's just more ideal for me. And you can feel when you've come to a location, there is a vibration to it, and you can just sort of start to eventually experience when you're a match to it and when you're not a match. I happen to be a match to it. I love the vibe out here, and I think it's wonderful. And the way I would go by what you were saying is usually what I go with in terms of like I'm suspecting I might be doing this. Usually you'll get the signs and stuff, but it's about how you feel. What the idea of moving to California, what does that do for you? Does it make you feel like, well, I think I should because it's a higher vibration, or is it because you just feel excited about that idea? Trust your feelings about it.
I agree.
All right. I definitely feel a draw down towards there for sure.
Yeah, you can just give yourself the very simple suggestion: moving. And how do you feel when we feel excitement about something? That is actually, that feeling of excitement is a cue that we're aligned with the higher self. And I've been kind of trying to personally raise my standard for expectations. And obviously, no one's perfect at this, so you can't orchestrate every single moment of your life. Probably. I mean, functionally, you probably can't, but I think that technically it's possible to only do things that you're excited about. I think that technically that's a possibility for us. Just like, maybe like technically we could walk through walls. But
Most definitely. It's eliminating the negative vibes for sure, and more sticking towards what resonates with you. I think that speaks volumes.
Right, and that excitement is a physical cue or even emotional cue about resonance. And it's kind of like the very simplistic way of looking at every choice is either love or fear, and that's kind of that binary. Am I excited or am I not excited? Will kind of flesh out whether it's a choice that you're making for love or for fear of losing something or getting away from something, for example. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all getting a lot of contrast right now where we're feeling, where it's becoming more obvious what feels good, it excites us, et cetera, and what is like, oh, I don't like that anymore. And it just like you said, I have the same mindset. I'm trying to make my life just completely filled up with things that excite me and resonate with me. And it's just a process of sorting out the contrast we're given. But I wanted to say one more thing about the move. For me, and I think a lot of people with something big like that, is oftentimes we become so psychic and we can have such foresight. It doesn't mean you have to move now or do anything drastic. It just means it's probably in your cards. And I would allow life to kind of show you. You'll kind of know when it's time. So it's nothing you have to do anything to be too urgent with.
You can be easy about it, and I think ease is also another clue about being in resonance.
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
That's awesome, Victor. One of the things I really am starting to relate to is I kind of feel more of a push out of where I am right now, and seeing a lot of things kind of being like, get out of here, and kind of, I don't want to say negative, but just where I'm really finding a distaste here. Mm-hmm. And I definitely see things kind of lining up for me to make that eventual move, but not forcing it and just flowing with it is something I totally agree with.
Right. Yeah.
You're right on track, it sounds like, man. Good for you. That means life is shaping up to push you into a much more ideal scenario. And you just kind of follow the next obvious step and you'll get there. And it'll be better than you imagined.
Well, let us know when you move out. Todd, thank you so much for calling in.
I shall.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Todd.
Good luck. How long do we have, Jarvis? We have about 5 minutes. Okay, great. We can take another call, I think.
Sure.
Does that sound good? All right, let's take another one. Hello, you're live. Who's this?
Hi, it's Dana. How are you?
Hi, Dana. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So initially, I was going to ask a certain question, but then since listening to you and Victor, it actually brought up some other thoughts in my head. I went through some pretty turmoil stuff with family and whatnot, and still going through it. And when Victor was talking about all the symptoms and stuff of the Ascension process, I was thinking, wow, that really kind of resonates with me. And the last time I talked to you, Tricia, actually, you said you saw the number 7 and that I was going through a major Ascension process.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking, maybe you as an intuitive could tell me, is that maybe what it is I am going through?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even have to be intuitive to tell you that, because you are you are wise, and the fact that you are asking these questions to me means that the answers are yes. Does that make sense? If you want, I can feel into you if you want me to feel into you to get a little clarity. Yes, and right now I'm getting that where you are, of course, you are in this awakening. I mean, you're here anyway with us. And the sort of the place to be right now, at least today, is the mind-body-spirit connection, and work on all 3 of those equally, to be paying attention to that balance, mind, body, spirit. Look at each and develop a lot of self-care, self-love, start cultivating that, to be looking inside that way. And so like for the mind, like watching shows like this or listening to podcasts and feeding your mind in the sort of the third eye and the crown that is really hungry for a lot of information, spiritual and just intellectual information. And the body, like some step up the self-care. Maybe I'm actually getting you could benefit with some walks or some kind of whatever your cardiovascular exercise interests are, to give a little, because that's also going to help to flow, to help that mind-body complex energy flow one to the other. That's what I'm getting right now. Victor, do you have any words for Dana?
Yeah, I would say the fact that you called in and just happened to get on, and what the way you phrased it, you said, I resonate with what he was saying. That's how I, anyway, decide what is at least a relevant truth for myself, is information you can feel a compatibility with it in your body. So whether it's me or someone else listing off these signs, if you were like, wow, you had that like, yeah, that's me, that's your sign. That's your sign that it is you. And I don't believe you would be calling in about this if you were not going through it. A lot of people are, and a lot of people are starting to kind of become aware of that in many different ways. This sounds like this is your little confirmation.
Yeah.
So enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
And
I appreciate it very much.
And thank you for being open to helping the planet the way that you are, just by being yourself and opening up more to yourself. That's actually like the way that you contribute to the ecosystem, and we appreciate it. Thank you for your light.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Tricia, can I ask you one question? I don't know if you can answer this real quick or not.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what my path is. I want to start a business, but I'm not sure what direction I'm supposed to be going in. Is there anything you can tap into that can kind of
to
focus on?
We have less than a minute, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things. First of all, it's always, when people ask me that question, I'll tell you that it is always way more valuable when you sort of get it personally. But I am seeing that the way for you to start figuring some of that out, I'm seeing you writing, and I'm seeing you with books, something that is about teaching or something that is about writing. I'm getting that very academic lean. I'm not sure if that's what you're meant to, if that's what it looks like to you, but take that to your heart and see how that feels, because it's going to be really powerful for you to figure out, to hear from your own inner being. But call me again, okay?
I will. Thank you guys so
Thank you.
much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, Dana. Well, like I said, we are really out of time, and we had, so many callers. Thank you so much for calling in. Y'all who didn't get on air, please call again, call next week, and listen to the whole show if you hadn't, because Spirit always organizes messages to touch all of us when we're all contributing. So with that, I will thank Victor Oddo for being here. Can you please let everyone know how, because Jarvis has been putting on the screen, but let everyone know or on the air how they can get in touch with you or find your work.
Okay, the easiest way would just be to type in my name, Victor Oddo, into the YouTube search engine, and
ODDO.
that's like my main outlet. So just find my YouTube channel, and then you can access everything else I do from there pretty easily.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you for your light. Thank you for your work here.
You're welcome. Thank
on
you.
the planet, personally, and on behalf of everyone else. And thank you for joining me today on Charmed Live. Please join us again next week at 11 a.m. Pacific, or catch the YouTube and podcast. And I'm Tricia Carr. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.